Welcome, everybody. Thursday, February 23rd. I am John Aravosis. You are here watching the Aravosis Report, our latest news from Ukraine. Let me get TikTok rolling here on my iPad. As always, we'll take a couple minutes for folks to arrive, and then we will jump in with the news. So, la la la. Anyway, introduce yourselves if you would. Our old say where you're hailing from, if you would, please. Woo! I see the TikTokers coming in. Hello, TikTokers. How's everybody doing? I had a last minute snack. I suddenly got hungry at like 1 minute to the hour. So I heated some soup in the microwave and like, bleh. So that's why I was a minute late. Oh, hey, Big Hawk. Woo. God, it is hot today too. Hey, copies. We got up to 78, I think, today in DC, which is like 25 Celsius, which is unheard of. And it's still 76 outside right now, which is like 24. It should not be that temperature. I mean, that's insane for here. Beautiful, but you know, I'm sitting here sweating. Ooh. Anyway. So yeah, we'll wait a second, guys, as always, just for folks to arrive. And yeah, my chocolate cake did not turn out. Let me warn everybody, Nigella Lawson's chocolate cake something recipe, loaf cake, disaster. That woman, whatever, pisses me off when I do stuff like that. All right, let me see, folks. All right, folks are saying flip the can. I did not flip it, but I can flip it. Hang on, we're having a little TikTok issue. I don't know why the can. God bless TikTok for just deciding to flip my camera back. Nice of you to do that, TikTok. All right, give me a second here while I figure out on TikTok. Mirror your video. All right. Did that flip it? Here, TikTokers, let me show you. Is my map okay on TikTok or is it the wrong way? Right way or wrong way? So that's the wrong way. Okay, nope. Thank you. Wrong is better than nope. All right, guys, hang on a second. TikTok is playing games like they do. All right. Mirror your video. Oh, I see. Turn that off. Okay, that's weird. Is this correct now on TikTok? Weird. Okay, as long as that's correct now. Okay, very weird. I don't know how TikTok changed, but who knows? All right, guys, I think we're ready to start. So welcome, everybody. I am John Aravosis. This is the Aravosis Report, my nightly show where we talk about the latest news from Ukraine. The way it works is the first half hour or so, I will go through the news that I think matters. Today may go a little long again. There's a lot of news today. Interesting news. And then the second half of the show, we will take your guys' questions. So the way that works on TikTok, go to my profile. You'll see the Q&A button. Click that button, and that's how you leave your questions. For the rest of you, obviously, you can use the comment box at the bottom. I do very much welcome your gifts on TikTok and your gifts for Super Chat and Super Stickers on YouTube because I do this for free. And I've been doing it full-time since the war broke out. And the only way I'm able to do it is because you guys are helping me pay the bills. So thank you for that. Please keep the gifts coming. I'm also, just a quick reminder, and then we're going to start, I'm doing a coffee talk, as I call it, Saturday morning on TikTok for the paid TikTok subscribers. The moderators can help you if you guys want to become one of those folks. Basically, you pay like $6 a month or something. I get a portion, but it adds up. You know, everything adds up. Thank you, Caden, for that. So that will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. All right. Tomorrow, so just a reminder, tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, February 24th. There's lots of stuff going around, lots of, not celebrations, I mean, lots of commemorations going on. I believe a lot of world monuments are going to be, thank you, Didar, are going to be in blue and yellow. I did see the Tour Eiffel, the Eiffel Tower in Paris was already blue and yellow, you know, for the colors of the Ukrainian flag. Now, one very nice, thank you, Didar and Ali, both. One very nice sort of commemoration, shall we call it, is that the United Nations just voted, and passed a resolution siding with Ukraine in the war, basically. It called on Russia to withdraw its troops and called for peace in Ukraine, but specifically called for Russia to withdraw its troops, which is a big deal. The vote was 141 votes in favor, 32 abstentions, meaning 32 voting I'm present, but I'm not picking a side, and 6 voting with Russia against. The countries voting against, in addition to Russia, were Belarus, big surprise, North Korea, big surprise, Eritrea, Mali. Mali's doing it. Well, my guess is Mali's doing it because Mali has hired the Wagner mercenary group, the Russian soldiers for hire, to help it fight against an Islamic insurgency. Thank you, Anthony Evans, for that. Nicaragua and Syria. Now, interesting to me were the I mean, UN resolutions, I don't care, right? I mean, UN resolutions are silly. They're just a statement. They don't do anything, but it does put the world on the record, which isn't a bad thing, I guess. What I mean is the resolution won't change anything, but it does make countries sort of pick sides. And Russia, Russia, it's interesting. I mean, they're not really an Asian country, though they've got an Asian component. I mean, though they're not really European either. But there is sort of a face-saving element to all of this. Russia seems very desperate for approval, right? Of countries around the world for what it's doing in Ukraine. So I think having 141 countries say, no, and most interesting to me, China abstained again, which is very interesting. Iran abstained. Iran did not vote with Russia. Thank you, Paul Gray or Paula. That's interesting. Because obviously Iran is like this with Russia. Iran's been providing Russia drones. Reportedly, has been selling Russia long-range missiles as well to kill Ukrainian civilians. I just think that's interesting that Iran, at least in a diplomatic sense, is trying to put just a little bit of distance between itself and Russia. Again, interesting. The Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez visited Ukraine today. He was due to meet with Zelensky, of course, and also was going to visit Bucha and Irpin, which are the sites of 2 of the major war crimes, crimes against humanity that Russia committed in Ukraine. Obviously, they've committed a lot more. Thank you, Phoenix, for the bear. This story was interesting, Mariupol. So Mariupol, Ukrainian town, southeastern Ukraine, all the way down here. Mariupol, famous for a number of reasons. Mariupol is the town where the Azov battalion was holed up inside the steel plant for almost 2 months. And remember, there were 2,000 Ukrainian troops fighting 14,000 Russian troops and holding them off really well. Very famous. Mariupol is also famous in a bad way, because it's the town where, just again to show you down here, it's the town where the Russians bombed that drama theater. Thank you, Noah, for that. Where the Russians bombed that drama theater that had the word children written on it in Russian in big letters, Jetsi, so that Russian bombers would know there are children inside. The Russian bombers saw it and bombed the theater anyway. That's Mariupol. Russia currently occupies it. Just to remind you, what Russia occupies right now, about 17% of Ukraine. Russia pretty much occupies everything my fingers are covering here. So Crimea, Kherson province, part of Zaporizhia, part of Donetsk, and most of Luhansk up here. So Mariupol is down, right? The line is here. So Mariupol is way down in the Russian territory. What is interesting about Mariupol is, yesterday I reported on this, that there were a series of explosions in Mariupol. It looks like the Russians, got bombed by Inspired Woman. Thank you for that. I was looking at my map when you put the gift up. Sorry about that. Thank you. Sorry, whenever I look away and you guys do a gift and I didn't get to thank you. And L for the llama. Thank you for that. Mariupol, series of explosions yesterday. And it was looking a little weird. What I mean is the Ukrainians should not be able to bomb Mariupol. That is outside of the range of the missiles we've been giving them. Then how did they do it? That was the big mystery. Well, today, Ukrainians' Southern Command of the military said that, thank you, Erica, for the llama. Ukraine's Southern Command of the military came out and said, Mariupol is, quote, no longer completely unreachable for the Ukrainian army. They didn't say anything else as to what that means. Earlier today, the city council reported 3 explosions in Mariupol with a high probability of hitting the area where Russian troops have been temporarily stationed. So it looks like the Ukrainians today hit the barracks and the workplace for the Russians in Mariupol. But again, we don't know how they're hitting them. And I mean, at least from what these reports are, the reports I'm seeing, no, we don't know yet, but the reports I'm seeing are actually, that's a very good question. Daniel O'Neill is just said on TikTok, GLSDB, which are the ground launch small diameter bombs. These are the new bombs that the United States promised Ukraine in one of the latest aid packages. Thank you, Manda Bear. I think it might have even been the one we promised when Zelensky was here speaking to Congress. So maybe a month ago. The GLSDBs are very interesting because they're basically a bomb and a missile. We provide them with both. And the range so far, the top range of the weapons we've been giving Ukraine has been 60 miles or around 100 kilometers, okay? The GLSDBs have a range of 94 miles instead of 60, or 150 kilometers instead of 100. That's a significant increase, right, from where they were before. Now, I don't know how quickly, the only thing is, I don't know how quickly those bombs were going to get there. I had read, now mind you, some of this could be misinformation from our guys because we don't want the Russians to know when the weapons get there. But I had read that we were going to be making some of these bombs and sending them to Ukraine, so it might take a few months to get there. Who knows? Noah is saying on TikTok, on YouTube, the UK was giving them Brimstone 2 cruise missiles. Maybe that's it. I mean, do you know what the range is of the Brimstone 2s? Like how far? Actually, some of the missiles that I saw the UK was considering giving, I want to say one of the options was that they could tweak, the Brits could tweak what the range was of the missiles they were giving, right? So I don't know. Does anybody, I'm just curious if anybody knows what the range is. That's what I say, different ranges. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, Didar is saying on TikTok, different ranges. That's what I was reading. There were like a bunch of different variations or something like that, I think. 70 to 150, although you've got to make sure you put units in there. Is that miles or kilometers? I don't ever remember what you Brits use. 25 to 35 miles on the Brimstone 2, according to Ben. Okay, that's not farther, though. That's not farther. 25 to 37 miles doesn't help because they've already got missiles that can go up to, say, 60 miles, which is 100 kilometers. So being able to hit Mariupol, I'd have to look and see exactly on the map, but I'm going to guess Mariupol gets you more like 100-mile difference. In any case, I don't know. Okay, sorry. Kef is saying Mariupol is around 65 miles from the front line. Now, maybe we or they figured out a way to extend the distance just a little bit more of the weapons we gave them if it's 65 miles. Now, I know, at least from one of the things I was reading about, I believe earlier in the war was as some of these weapons can go further than the official distance, but as they go further, sometimes the accuracy isn't as good. So you may not be able to hit as well. So that's a question. In any case, good news. Let me tell you really quick, we've got a drone fundraiser going on to buy drones for the Ukrainian army. Not a penny for me. So this is not a John fundraiser. This is a Ukraine fundraiser. We've been working with a charity in Ukraine for about a year now. We've raised over now probably $90,000 for the Ukrainians, 100% for Ukraine. I haven't taken a dime of it. We've bought stuff for the soldiers. We've gotten them batteries. We've gotten them not satellites, but we did get them satellite internet. We got them drones. We also got a lot of humanitarian aid for the Ukrainians themselves. Thank you, Zoe. Help for people with disabilities, stoves, these little makeshift stoves for people. I was trying to, actually, we've helped individuals escape from Mariupol. My favorite probably, we bought a bus. We bought a used bus and had somebody secretly drive it into Mariupol under Russian occupation, bring in a bus full of medicine, and then on the way out, filled the bus with refugees, with Ukrainians, because the Russians are running it like a dictatorship. They're not even letting people leave. If you leave Mariupol, they're making you go to Russia. They're not even letting you go to the rest of Ukraine if you're a civilian. So we bussed people out of Mariupol. Anyway, we're doing a new fundraiser now. We were contacted by the Ukrainian military. I've even got the letter from the military, but I I told Vlad I didn't want to publish it because I just felt like it was a bit too much information, but they told us the exact units that are involved, who needs them. They need 6 drones. One's a much better quality drone. The other 5 are more these just sort of cheaper reconnaissance drones. We need 17,000 euros or $18,000. We've already got 6,000 euros or $7,000 already, which is great. And we want to buy these guys 6 drones. The military will be using the drones with, like I said, 4 different, actually, I'll show you a picture of the guys. They sent us pictures of one of the 4 units of guys we're going to be helping, which I thought was kind of cool, just because it's kind of neat to see images of the people you're helping, which is kind of cool. So this is one unit of the Ukrainian guys that we're getting the drones for. I'll show you guys too. And what is to me most interesting about this, and I'll get back to the news in a second, but as I said, not a dime of this is for me. Actually, by the way, the way you can give, I always sort of bury the most important point. You can go to my profile on TikTok, look for the Linktree link, click it, and the very first thing that comes up will give you my friend Vlad's PayPal address to send it to. For you guys, you can go to aravosis.com, same thing, or you can just, that's my friend Vlad's PayPal. You could send it to him directly. The most interesting aspect of this for me is the drones are going to be used for the battle in Bakhmut and Volodar going on right now. Bakhmut is the big battle that's been going on for a month or 2 right now, probably a couple months now. This is the battle that we've been talking about, where the Russians have been going nuts trying to capture a town, up here, Bakhmut. It is probably a little east of Kramatorsk, a little southwest of Severodonetsk, so more or less where my finger is. It's on the front between what Russia occupies and Ukraine, Ukrainian, free Ukraine, let's call it, right? And there's not a good reason as to why the Russians have been going nuts with Bakhmut. I mean, months of this. Yes, there are salt mines there. There are gypsum mines there. Every analysis I have read from a defense expert has said, including today I was reading again, I think from the Economist, there is no good reason. Actually, the Economist and Sky News is military expert. There is no good reason for the Russians to be trying to capture Bakhmut. It just doesn't matter. It's become a matter of pride for them. And as a result, the Russians have lost potentially, I'd read, 5,000 or 6,000 troops just trying to capture this town and the town I think is like normally 60 or 70,000 people. Anyway, but it has been a big bloody battle. The Ukrainians have been really sticking it to them. And that's where they want the drones. The other place they're going to use the drones we get them is Volodar. Now, Volodar is very cool. Volodar is down here. So if you really know your Ukraine, it's southwest of Donetsk, about right where my finger is here. This one's really interesting. That's the one where, thank you, Harold, I was telling you guys like a week ago, remember that the Russians had an attack they were doing in southeastern Ukraine where they got so scared they ran. The Russians abandoned their vehicles. I mean, they totally fell apart. Thank you, Drew. They abandoned their vehicles. They left 30 fully functioning like military vehicles behind that the Ukrainians just literally, these guys got out of their trucks and ran. 1,000 Russian troops died in one day. I mean, which is in one battle, mind you. I mean, horrific. Very interesting. So who was that? Sorry, Mr. Stig, thank you for the hydro slime. So that's Volodar. That'll be the other place our drones are going to. If you guys can help, I'd appreciate it. I know this is a lot of money. You know, we're still trying to raise another $11,000 or $10,000, whatever it is. It's a lot. We're buying 6 drones. And again, I've even got 2 different letters from the Ukrainian military specifically requesting them. I mean, we know this is real anyway, because the charity in Ukraine we're working with are the ones who know the military, but they even sent us a letter, which is kind of funny. I just don't want to publish it because even though they're comfortable with it, I'm just like, I just don't want to give too much information, basically. Any case, there you go. Please, guys, give if you can. Literally, your donation. Thank you for the llama, Kathy. Your donation is going 100% to buying these drones for Ukraine. Okay? I am not touching it. I'm not getting a cut. Vlad works with the charity directly. So if you can help, go to my profile on TikTok right now, click it, or write this down, aravosis.com, my name. Okay? I've got, look at my name on TikTok, aravosis.com. That gives you the list of all my links. Thank you, Dawn. And the very top link will give you Vlad's PayPal copy it, and you know how to send money on PayPal. Same with you guys, aravosis.com. Okay, I'm going to go on here. There was a really interesting Financial Times article today on Putin and how bad he's. Yeah, Papo, I get a little nervous. Sorry, Papo's talking about operational security, and even though the Ukrainians will tell me stuff is okay to share, sometimes I'm like, you know what? I don't want to say the specific units, and I don't want to even the specific drone. We're allowed to say what kind of drones, and I was like, you know what? Let's keep them guessing. So anyway, Financial Times. Financial Times is the Wall Street Journal of Great Britain, basically. Very good publication. And they have a really interesting article today. Thank you, Kelly. Kelly says they just donated. Thank you so much. The really interesting article in the Financial Times today about the war, because basically it's the 1 year anniversary is tomorrow. Okay, so there's a lot of retrospectives going on, right? People saying, where are we? Where have we come? This article is interviewing a number of former top Russian officials. I don't know how they got them, and a number of officials around the world, but top Russian officials especially, about what happened that screwed everything up so much with the war for Russia. What is real? So let me just read. I pulled out like 6 or 7 pieces of the article that I thought were very interesting. And the Financial Times is behind a paywall, so that's also one added advantage of summarizing this for you guys, because I think that helps you out. You don't have to buy the Financial Times. Okay. Overall, this was great. Putin was told by Medvedchuk and the FSB. So Medvedchuk is the Ukrainian oligarch, Ukrainian billionaire who they arrested a couple months ago. And remember, they traded him to the Russians. Thank you, Annie, for that. They traded him for the Russians for a bunch of Ukrainian soldiers. He's the guy that's got some kind of weird relationship with Putin. Thank you, Addie, for that. He's, I believe, Putin is the godfather to Medvedchuk's daughter, or Medvedchuk is the godfather to Putin's daughter, but they're very close. So the Ukrainians arrest him, trade him for some troops. Medvedchuk, apparently, the Russians had planned to put this guy as the new leader of Ukraine. They were going to have Yanukovych, who was the president of Ukraine that was overthrown in the Democratic Revolution in 2014, the one that pissed Russia off because he was their puppet. They were going to have Yanukovych. Russia thought it was going to win in 3 days, okay? They were going to have Yanukovych come out, and he was going to do a televised speech or whatever, thank you, Bonnie, saying, I have anointed Medvedchuk, this member of parliament, oligarch, stooge of Russia, as the new leader of Ukraine, and that everyone was going to go, yay! Medvedchuk told the Russians, oh yeah, the whole thing will totally work. You come in, everyone's going to love you. The FSB, which is one of the follow-ons to the KGB, they told Putin, oh yeah, the Ukrainians love us. As soon as we invade, they're going to be in the streets like, woo-woo. Of course, total lie from both of them. Putin believed them. Apparently, one of the other security services had warned, I think it was the SVB, had warned Putin that we're not so sure about this. And Putin wouldn't believe them. Putin just insisted, oh, no. Now, mind you, one of the things that's interesting as well that the Financial Times mentioned was back in 2014, after Yanukovych, the former president, was overthrown, and the Russians got really pissed off because he was their stooge, right? Russia invades and steals Crimea, the Ukrainian territory in the south. So right here, you've got Crimea down here, okay? And the Russians invade. Russia's over here and over here. Russia invades, steals Crimea, and now claims this is part of Russia. Well, Putin's advisors at the time were telling him, don't do it. Don't do it. We won't be able to pull this off. God knows the West is going to come down on us. We risk war. We risk economic sanctions. Putin says, no, we can do this. What happens? Putin invades and the West caves. The West says, you know what? Big economic sanctions? No. Arming Ukraine? No. Right? We did nothing. We basically, for all intents and purposes, we tacitly said it was okay by doing nothing. Putin's lesson from that was, I know better than the generals. All my advisors told me we shouldn't do it. It was too risky. And Putin says, I invaded in 2014 and I stole a big chunk of Ukraine. So taking that in mind, as far as what Putin was doing last year, when not many of his advisors, but some of his advisors were once again saying, dude, we should not do this. Economically, they're going to sanction us. Militarily, who knows? And he said, no, 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 I know better. Now, to tell a little bit more on this. Oh God. So one of the problems the Russians had, there were this is from the article, pre-war predictions of Ukraine's army. Oh, there were pre-war predictions that Ukraine's army would collapse. These predictions assumed Russia's air force would quickly gain control of the skies. Instead, Russia's army shot down so many of its own aircraft, it ran out of pilots. It ran out of pilots with combat experience who were still prepared to fly. So basically, they killed, apparently it was a ton of helicopters and fighter jets. They killed their own pilots so that they, A, ran out of pilots, and B, the rest of the pilots said, you're out of your mind. Like, we just killed a bunch of our own pilots. You think I'm going to fly? Which I mean, amazing, absolutely amazing. Hang on, there's a little bit more here. Putin is being lied to by everybody. Big surprise. One of the former advisors says Stalin was a villain, but a good manager because he couldn't be lied to. Basically, that people were afraid to lie to Stalin and he could tell when they were lying. But nobody can tell Putin the truth. People who don't trust anyone, meaning Putin, start trusting a very small number of people who lie to them. Hang on a second. That's right. I had two quick, yeah, no, I've got yours. Thank you for the heart there, D. Lilia is throwing in a comment here. Have you seen the report? Sorry, a super chat question from Lilia. I always promise for super chats, I will jump in and answer them right away or note them right away. Let me get my glasses here. Have you seen the report that Starlink internet, Elon Musk's Starlink, right? The internet with satellites, has been fully restored for Ukraine's use. Do you think it has something to do with Biden's visit and the Mariupol bombing? I have not seen the report. I have intentionally not been going there with any of my own information. Again, operational security. I prefer not to know if Starlink is working in Ukraine because I figured there's no benefit in actually, in actually saying it because if Musk didn't want it to work. If what you're saying is true, that's very interesting. Ali here is saying Blinken had a call with him. That's very interesting. Now, a couple different things could happen. My suspicion is Musk, Musk reminds me of Trump in so many ways. I mean, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. But I feel like Musk is very strident, but he doesn't hold, it is like Trump in this way, very strident, but doesn't really hold to his views. Musk is out for Musk, Elon. Elon is out for his own business interests and his own ego. Again, it's very Trumpian. I say Trump only because I think I've got a very good handle on what motivates Trump, and Elon Musk is very much the same way. And it's important because then you figure out how do you manipulate them, what are they going to do next, et cetera, right? So Musk came out and was very strong about, well, first of all, look at last time. Remember months ago? Musk was like, I'm tired of this. I'm not paying for Starlink anymore. I'm the only one who's having to provide it for free, even though we were like, Elon, you're providing it for free because you offered it for free. You said, here is my gift to Ukraine. I'm offering, and I want all the credit from the world, right? So, give me a break. But he said, remember, I'm not paying for it anymore. And then there was a big explosion of anger, and who knows what happened behind the scenes, right? Because Elon is a defense contractor. SpaceX, his company, is a defense contractor. They get defense budgets, and they want a lot more from the Defense Department. Suddenly, Elon changes his tune and says, fine, I'm going to pay for it anyway. Whatever. Well, then we get to a month ago, or a couple weeks ago, and Elon once again is I'm not going to allow Starlink to, wait, first of all, Starlink's being used for war. Who knew? And you're like, Elon, you offered it for the war. Like, what are you even talking about? Which made me think something happened. First of all, something happened anyway. Elon didn't just come up with this. He didn't just pull this out of his butt 3 weeks ago and somehow out of nowhere discover that his Starlink was being used in Ukraine when he gave it to them for free, right? And then it subsequently has been paid for, by the way. The Americans, and especially the Europeans, especially the French, have been paying for it. But nonetheless, something happened. I think, personally, Vladimir Putin threatened him. We know that Ian Bremmer, who's a top foreign policy guy here in Washington, Bremer, said he had talked to Musk a couple months ago and said that Musk told him he had a secret phone call with Putin, and Putin basically threatened the Starlink satellites. Okay. And to me, I think Putin may have just threatened Musk again. Any case, my point here is Musk goes, woo, 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 right? There's just this back and forth and back and forth. I think Putin probably threatened him again, or Putin offered him something, right? Other people had said, Russia's got a lot of minerals in the Far East. Did they offer Musk some kind of minerals he needs for his electric cars? I mean, who knows, right? But I think then the U.S. weighed in. The U.S. government needs SpaceX. Okay. We don't have anything else really good for going into space right now. SpaceX has been very good. My suspicion is if there is any kind of a credible alternative to SpaceX. Now, it could be a credible alternative right now, something that's good, but maybe a little less good, but still, can get better. To a Starlink in particular, they could have said, you know what? We're going to go to the other guys and we're going to pump a ton of money in. And by the way, if we use the other guys in Ukraine, they are going to become world famous and get a buttload of money. That's the first possibility. Second of all, they could have told Elon, hey, meaning the Defense Department, we need you right now, but we're telling you right now, we are going to cut your budget in half, and we are going to put half the budget into that other competitor of yours that's also trying to build rockets that can go woo-woo right into space. And if you want us to do that, feel free. But you will never work with a Democratic administration again. Possible. Who knows? In any case, so I don't know, but I've been wondering if Elon was going to vacillate again. But honestly, if it is working, best thing to do is leave it alone, as far as I'm concerned. Roshin saying, B. Smith had a super chat question. Do you think China supplying their weapons to Russia will change the outcome of the war? As things currently stand, unless there was an article in the last hour before I did the show, China is not yet providing weapons to Russia. The U.S., one of the stories I was going to talk about tonight, I will tell you it right now. The U.S. has intelligence that China is strongly considering providing weapons to Russia, and especially lethal weapons. Lethal weapons meaning not just defensive systems, not just rockets that go in the air and blow up incoming rockets, but rockets, for example, I don't know if it's rockets, but things that you would use to attack Ukraine and kill people, basically. If that happens, it's a big deal. It would help Russia a lot in the war. And the U.S., I'm going to guess Europe as well, but the U.S. threatened China significantly behind the scenes with this. And now, according to the Wall Street Journal today, the U.S. is basically threatening to go public with its intelligence showing that the Chinese have been talking about it. In other words, literally releasing the intelligence of the conversations behind the scene, proving that we know you guys are doing this to embarrass the Chinese into not doing it. From what I read, the experts are saying if China got involved, it would help Russia a lot. So that's bad. China has a lot of capacity to produce weapons. They're a big country. That it would be very bad. Yes. And my guess is we would then have to respond and give Ukraine a hell of a lot better weapons than we're giving them now. That's my guess. Let me look here a little. We've got a few more things I was hitting on. I was going to tell you really quick. So the one other thing in the Financial Times article today that was really interesting about Putin and the 1-year anniversary of the war was talking about Putin and nuclear war and basically, what's his thinking on it. I'm just looking here, make sure I didn't miss any other questions. So listen to this. According to 2 people close to the Kremlin, Putin has already gamed out the possibility of using a nuclear weapon in Ukraine and has come to the conclusion that even a limited strike would do nothing to benefit Ukraine or benefit Russia. This is a point that I've been making that the defense experts have been saying for a while now. They can't find any good reason. It doesn't benefit Russia to use nukes in Ukraine. It doesn't advance the war. It's not like World War II and you wipe out 2 big cities in Japan and it crushes the country. Russians wouldn't be doing that in Ukraine. So listen to this. Quote, Putin has no reason to press the button. What is these are former top advisors, okay? Or former top people, actually two people close to the Kremlin today. What is the point of bombing Ukraine? Meaning with nukes. You detonate a tactical nuke over Zaporizhia, says a former Russian official referring to the Ukrainian-held capital of a province Putin has claimed for Russia. Everything is totally irradiated. You can't go in there, and it's supposedly Russia anyway, so what's the point, right? Russia is claiming these territories as its own. Russia now claims this is Russia, but Russia's going to bomb it with nuclear weapons on its own territory in Russia. And once you bomb it with nukes, you can't use it anymore. I mean, horrific cleaning that has to go on if you're doing that. So that's one thing. Let me look here. Actually, that's it for the nuclear thing. Let me tell you really quick. Like as I said, we've got a lot of news tonight, but I figured we'll go late because, again, it's one of those news days that there's a lot of news. So, indulge me. We do have a Discord as well. That's another way you guys can help me out, but also another way to just sort of stay in touch with me and all of us together. The Discord community is discord.aravosis.com. You can find it via aravosis.com, my main link page. You can also find it, you guys, on TikTok via the links that are in my profile. On the Discord, among other things, it's a community. We talk about politics, we talk about recipes, our dogs, sports, you name it. A lot of Ukraine, of course. But one of the other things we do, we have a lot of auctions, and the auctions are used to benefit Ukraine. 50% of the auctions money goes to Ukraine, 50% goes to support my work because I'm doing this full time. And I'm not taking any salary from anybody. Literally, you guys are paying my bills. So one of the ways is the gifts on TikTok and YouTube. So please do keep those up. One of the other ways are the auctions. And we've been auctioning off really cool stuff. The latest auction, I always show this just because I love this. And I kept one piece, but I didn't keep the box. A box of Russian fighter jet parts from a Russian fighter jet that was shot down over Ukraine back in March of last year. Very cool. Titanium. I mean, totally cool. We've got all the information on the plane. We've got the information on the pilot. It's totally cool. It's totally cool. Any case, we're auctioning this off. I had to buy it for a pretty penny in Ukraine, and we're auctioning it off to you guys. We've got what else we got? We've got military patches. We've got the sweatshirts that Zelensky. Oh, show my sweatshirt. I'm not wearing it today because it's hot in DC. We found the sweatshirts. These are the Zelensky sweatshirts. These are the sweatshirts Zelensky wears, the actual brand that he wears everywhere. Thank you for the hat, by the way, Liv Bjorn. So we're auctioning these off. We've got some, and we've got some cool stamps as well. Some cool Ukrainian stamps, thanks to Colonel Mustard on TikTok. Donated a couple really cool stamps of HIMARS and all. Ukraine did basically some stamps commemorating the military weapons that they're using, like HIMARS and stuff. Really cool. So I'm going to be auctioning those off. If I will try to put that up tonight or tomorrow. Any case, do check out the Discord. It'll help me a lot. Oh, hey, thank you, Happy Beach. That was cute. Thank you. Happy Beach just Happy Beach family just did a very generous, like, lion cub roaring thing on TikTok. That was very cute. Thank you for that. A little bit more news here. Moldova. So Moldova, we've been talking about for months now. There's been concern of the Russians invading. It's a little stupid of them, to be honest, but we're dealing with Russia's war, war ideas here. Hang on a second. I realize I've got two. I will get to you guys in a second. I've got two things on Super Chat I got to get to. But Moldova, more or less over here, former Soviet, republic. There's a little tract of land here called Transnistria, which is, breakaway republic, but basically something the Russians did themselves. The Russians tried to cause trouble and basically tried to cause, basically just the same thing the Russians are doing in Eastern Ukraine. They tried to create their own breakaway republic, create their own revolution inside Moldova. Well, the Russians have for a while now been threatening to invade Moldova, or at least the threat's been there. We've also seen recently, thank you, Pam, for that, the Ukrainians found a document purporting to be a Russian plan to basically take over Moldova and let the or got some intelligence at least, let the Moldovans know. Basically, there's concern that the Russians are going to try to overthrow the government and possibly invade Moldova. Now, why they would, I mean, overthrow the government, I guess, because it wouldn't hurt for Russia to have another friendly government, I guess. But that's a lot of work for a country here that's pretty poor, doesn't have much of a military, okay? And Russia is, Russia is here. I mean, I don't like, how are you even going to, the invasion, forget it. How are you going to invade all the way over here? I mean, Russia's got like a couple thousand troops in Transnistria, but it's the kind of thing Russia would do, which is basically they're having a very hard time winning this war. So now, in addition to like the 5 other or 6 other places they're fighting, they're going to add a 7th place that they're going to fight. I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. All right, sorry, I had 2 things here. So we had Bash Brannigan. Isn't there an argument to be made for China wanting Russia to lose the war? Aren't they rivals? China, I was reading about this last night. China is bigger rivals with America. Okay. America is the big threat. We're the big threat militarily. We're the big threat economically, culturally as well. Taiwan, China wants Taiwan back. We're the ones, we Europeans too, but I mean, America is the country that's going to stop China from getting Taiwan back in principle, right? So we're the big threat. They want Russia as an ally to counterbalance against America. So China really doesn't want Russia to lose this war as a result. That's the thinking as to why China is thinking of giving weapons, because they need Russia to be that counterbalance to America. And frankly, the war keeps America busy, right? We're spending a lot of money. America and Europe both. We're spending a lot of money. We're spending a lot of time, right? So, and I mentioned this the other day, potentially, if the war goes on long enough in Ukraine, maybe Americans get so tired of the war that when China invades Taiwan, Americans say, you know what? We don't want another war. What do you mean? You want us to invade China now, right? Like it potentially wears us down, keeping the war going in Ukraine. So yeah, that's the idea as far as why they'd be, one of the reasons why they'd be helping. Cliff Wolf is saying, please detail what sanctions will happen to China. I don't know. If they decide to send weapons to Russia, what are your plans for the 1-year anniversary? I have no plans for the 1-year anniversary other than I'm going to start looking and seeing what's happening in DC, if there's anything interesting for me to go to tomorrow. Although tomorrow night, my guess is it might be happening tomorrow night, which doesn't really help because I'll be doing the show with you guys. Thank you, pediatric nurse, for that. I have no idea what the sanctions would be. I will tell you this. China does a hell of a lot of business with Europe and America. Thank you for the glasses there, Marcy. You just look, for years now, you look in American stores and, I don't know the percentage. It's a crazy percentage of how much of our goods are made in China. I'm sure Europe, it's the same thing. So it would affect us in terms of inflation if we put tariffs or whatever, but it also, affects China as well in terms of being able to sell their goods, or just shut off their goods or whatever. That's the first thing. China is very worried about their economy right now. China had the first time in like 60 years or something that their population shrunk last year. It shrunk by maybe 850,000 people, I believe, but it was the first time in like forever that the population shrunk. China needs the population to grow because they need the economy to grow and they need more workers. Okay. So that's the first problem. Second of all, the Chinese economy is not growing like it should. Chinese economy, again, for 50 years or so, was growing at like a ridiculous rate. I mean, for us, it's ridiculous. 8%, something crazy like that, right? For us, 8% would be an economy out of control. I mean, inflation and everything else. For China, no. I mean, those are normal numbers and it's what they need. China's growth is down to like 3% or something right now. For us, that would be healthy growth. For China, it's terrible. So you've got China's economy not growing slowing down, which is dangerous for China. Thank you, Moshcrypt, for that. So you got the economy slowing down, and then you've got the population actually decreasing all of a sudden, which means fewer workers for the economy, fewer workers, but also less demand because they're consumers as well. So China is particularly worried about their economy right now. They always are, but they're particularly worried about their economy. Europe is a really important for them in terms of their economy, as is America. So, I think they only want to, and they're not thrilled. I think they're not entirely thrilled, even though China, it has this competition with America. They're not entirely thrilled that this is that basically their relations are totally soured now with Europe and America right now, and well, obviously only get worse with Taiwan. But anyway, that's the deal. I think if as far as sanctions, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what, but I think there'd be massive economics. I think there'd be massive economic sanctions. Thank you, Moshcrypt. If China were to help Russia with lethal weapons, I think absolutely. We'd have to. I mean, we'd have no choice. And relations are already so bad with China anyway right now with America that I think the sanctions would be even worse right now because politically we'd have to show up China because all the BS with the balloons and everything else. Let me just see here really quick. I will do a quick summary because God, we're going long on the news tonight. So I mean, it's been good news or interesting news, but let me give you the quick summary and the rest of the news, and then we'll do more questions. I was going to tell you. So Moldova. The Russian Ministry of Defense is claiming that Ukraine is planning a false flag attack on Moldova to give Kyiv an excuse to invade. In other words, the Russians are claiming that the Ukrainians are going to make some kind of fake bombing or something in Moldova and blame it on the Russians, and this will give Ukraine the justification to invade Moldova. Now, why Ukraine would want to invade Moldova, who knows? The concern is that Russia is telling us what they're going to do. That basically Russia is planning some kind of bombing or something that they're going to claim, oh, we've got our troops there and, people who speak Russian who we have to defend. That basically, once again, Russia's possibly considering invading, which would be really stupid of them, but this is Russia. A new survey, 87% of Ukrainians oppose territorial concessions. Thank you, user 822, for that. Only 9% of Ukrainians believe that some territory can be given up in order to achieve peace. That's interesting. Finland is going to transfer 3 Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. British Defense Secretary Wallace says the Challenger tanks could start arriving in the spring. Australia is giving drones to Ukraine and expanding sanctions against Russia. Good news. I mean, because we don't talk about Australia much, and you guys have asked me before about Australia, so we've got some Australian news. Thank you, Australia. And the last thing, which was very funny and weird and just so Russian. I thought this happened previously, but somebody was sharing it yesterday, saying it was on Russian TV last night. So maybe it was last night. But, okay, Russia's a dictatorship for all intents and purposes, okay? What happens on the nightly news shows and the nightly talk shows, it's regulated by the government. Nothing happens that the government isn't okay with. One of the commentators was going off about how Yellowstone, which is a very cool national park in the Western U.S., if you ever get out there, right? The Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, all that stuff, right? Very cool, right? I mean, super cool out there. Yellowstone is a beautiful park, but also what's neat about it is it's a series of geysers. It's like Old Faithful, for example. Old Faithful is the famous geyser, the water that erupts from the ground, and it erupts like on a regular, I think it's 90 minutes, something like that, more or less, but it's a pretty much regular schedule that it goes up. Yellowstone, and beautiful Yellowstone with all the whatever you call the hot pools, the hot pools everywhere and stuff. Very cool stuff. Well, on Russian TV last night, they said, and I Googled this because I'd forgotten this, that Yellowstone is a volcano. Which it is a volcano. I Googled this. Yellowstone hot springs. There you go. I was making up words here with my Coco the chimp or the monkey gorilla phrasing, as Ali said. Hot springs. Yellowstone is a super volcano. I mean, it is. And the Russians, and I heard them talking about this before, but again, I guess last night, they're talking about nuking Yellowstone if things get bad enough. And somehow the super volcano will explode and destroy America or something crazy. And, let me just tell you this because, again, this is the kind of BS. First of all, I was saying earlier today on Twitter that the Russians so remind me, again, of Elon Musk and also some other personalities we know, where it is a mixture of incredible inferiority, right? Like an inferiority complex where they're just so upset that nobody respects them, mixed with megalomania and narcissism, meaning I'm the best thing in the world and nobody believes me, right? so that it's this big inferiority and this big superiority mixed. And I think from Elon Musk is the same way. And the same thing with the Russians. The stuff they say like this, the thing is, it's so bizarre. These guys aren't like us. They're just not like us. This is not a European country. I don't know what it is. It's not a European country. The kind of threats they make are so stupid and so idiotic. I mean, it's just idiotic. You're going to blow up Yellowstone. And granted, I would love to watch that movie. It'd be a cool movie. I would totally watch that movie like on Netflix. You know what I mean? That the Russians secretly plant a nuclear bomb in Yellowstone and the super volcano eats half the United States. Would that be cool? I mean, it would be totally cool. But as I've said before, it's not like all our nuclear weapons are in Yellowstone. We've got nuclear submarines. They could blow up Yellowstone. Our nuclear submarines are all over the world, and our nuclear submarines would destroy Russia. That's why we have nuclear submarines. That's why Russia has nuclear submarines. That's why the British and the French have nuclear submarines, because nobody can use their nuclear weapons against each other. None of us can attack each other like that, or the other countries would respond. And the Russians know this, but for some crazy reason, they love talking about this stuff. I just find it very weird. It's because it's immature. I mean, it's immature, first of all. Like, what kind of a child goes out there and says, I'm going to put a nuclear weapon in your geyser and it's going to blow up and you're all going to die, and you're going like, really? I mean, maybe the Russian public likes this kind of stuff. I mean, I'm guessing they probably do. Like, they know their own people, So maybe the Russian people sit there and are like, yay, you tell them, Boris. But it's just so idiotic. My point in telling you this is, first of all, don't be scared, because they know they can't use their weapons because we've got them too. They know they can't. So they're not going to use them. But it is important because we're dealing with people who don't think like us. I mean, and I've said this before, until Russia has a revolution, I mean, a real revolution, I don't think that country is ever going to get better. They need to overthrow everything. They need to change their government. They need to sort of hit rock bottom. They need to hit rock bottom. They need to hit rock bottom until they realize how messed up it is for them to finally have a free country that actually works, and frankly, join the world. It's very, actually, that's it. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Beleaguered Thespian says they're acting like Boris and Natasha from Rocky and Bullwinkle. That's exactly it. Yeah. Boris, we are going to put a nuclear weapon. I mean, it's literally like a kid's show, nuclear weapon in Yellowstone. Oh, it's just, anyway. Sarah, thank you for the super chat, Sarah. Just heard today Russian soldiers with Ukraine uniforms on might be headed to Belarus. Wouldn't be surprised. Thank you, Big Gator Girl. The one thing I can figure for Russia screwing around with Belarus, even though it just doesn't really make a lot of sense, is they're trying to mess with NATO, right? Belarus. I mean, not Belarus. Oh, I'm sorry, not Belarus. I'm sorry. Oh, Belarus. That's different. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Moldova, that they were screwing with Moldova because Moldova is right there with Romania, and it's NATO and it's the EU, and trying to just cause more instability for us, like they're trying to do in the Balkans. You're talking about Belarus. Weird. Now, I think they did this before. I'm pretty sure the Ukrainians caught some Russians before that were doing this, which is a war crime, by the way. You're not allowed to dress in the troops of the enemy. You've got to dress in your own outfit. You've got to have, that's why they've got the bands on of the color, like the blue or the yellow or whatever on their arms. You've got to identify yourselves as being with, who you're with. So that would be a war crime. But of course, these are people committing genocide. So I don't think we should put it past them. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, that's not good. PB&J is saying NBC just reported that the Russian economy will grow 3% this year because of all the goods still going in by bypassing sanctions. Yeah, that's bad. That ain't good. Ben, thank you for that, Ben. Very generous of you. Super chat. The BBC reported that Poland is increasing its security on its border with Russia and Belarus. Do you think this is to stop the Russians causing problems like what is happening in Moldova with anti-government protests? So, okay. Sorry. Show you here. We've got Ukraine, Russia, like here and everywhere else, because Russia's enormous. Okay. Belarus is here. Poland's over here. So you've got now Poland has got the border with Belarus. I'd have to look at the map. I didn't know Poland has a border with Russia as well. This map isn't obviously showing me much, but Poland, I know, bordering Belarus. I'll take your word for it if they border Russia, but kind of the same difference because Belarus is a dictatorship that's working with Russia on the war. Increasing security on its border. I mean, several things could be going on. One possibility, they're being safe. Russia is having more and more problems. Okay. I mean, they're not doing well in this war. If you're the Baltic states and Poland, you want, thank you, Nathan, for that, for the two different gifts there. You want increased presence. And by the way, they've asked, well, Kaliningrad, that's true. I wasn't thinking Kaliningrad. That's true. Okay. I mean, Kaliningrad. Yeah. I was thinking of, real Russia. That's a fair, yeah. I know Kaliningrad exists. But the mainland, let's call it mainland Russia. Does mainland Russia, forget Kaliningrad, does mainland Russia have a border with Poland? That's the thing that I was trying to figure out. Kaliningrad, I know, because Kaliningrad is this, I always tell people, it's kind of funky. If you look at the map, find Lithuania on your map. No, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Look for Lithuania on your map, and then look for the southwest corner of Lithuania, and there's literally a chunk of Russia in the middle of Europe. It's the weirdest thing. World War II, of course, the Russians stole it. Big surprise. So the question is where Poland is putting the troops, I guess. Maybe they're doing both. Maybe they're putting the troops near Kaliningrad and putting the troops along the Belarusian border. But in any case, one, I know that the Eastern European countries have been worried about beefing up their defenses. When they met with Biden, was it yesterday or the day before? I think it was yesterday, that Bucharest 9 or whatever they're called, the Eastern European countries, met with Biden and specifically asked him if the U.S. could put more troops and more weapons, HIMARS, air reconnaissance, HIMARS, and I think helicopters, among other things, and American troops in their countries just to protect them. So clearly they're getting worried. Therefore, I wouldn't be surprised if Poland is also basically saying, look, we're going to play this safe. Second of all, the more troops, this is something I've been wanting us to do, okay? The more troops that Poland or any NATO country put on the Russian border away from Ukraine, so in other words, Kaliningrad or Belarus, right? Because let's face it, Russia right now is fighting here. This is the territory they're holding in Ukraine. The battles are going along this front. This is where the battles are happening, more or less. If Poland is putting troops around Kaliningrad, let's say it's over here, and on the Belarusian border here, Russia now potentially has to put more troops in Kaliningrad. Russia has to potentially put more troops along with the Belarusians over here by Poland, right? So all of a sudden, instead of Russia using its troops here in Ukraine, they're having to move their troops over here. So I wonder to some degree if part of this, thank you, Harold, if part of it is Poland's legitimate concerns and playing it safe, but also NATO trying to force Russia to move some troops, basically force Russia to be worried about something else right now. Maybe. I mean, I'd have to see the report, but that's what I'm wondering. Thank you, that grouchy old man there. Sorry, what else we got here? Actually, let me go into TikTok and pull up a question as well. As I said, we're going to go a little late tonight because there was a lot of news. So I know Ukraine should get Kaliningrad. Tell me about it. Somebody should get Kaliningrad back. Let me see here. Hang on. TikTok. I hate how TikTok does that. There's like ads and things on TikTok now. Stop it. All right, TikTok. Okay, yeah, unmarked buses and Ukrainian uniforms in Belarus. Now, one possibility is Russia doing a false flag to try to force Belarus into the war. That's a possibility, right? Yep. Oh, I just missed that. Sorry, Nancy, for the Galaxy. Thank you. I was looking at my TikTok when you did the Galaxy. Thank you for that. Oh, the Galaxy is one of my favorites. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Sorry, I was looking down and I just saw somebody say Galaxy and I went, Galaxy, I missed the Galaxy. Thank you for that. So unmarked buses, I wonder okay, one possibility is that Russia moves buses and their own Russian troops into Belarus, right? So northwest of Ukraine, Russian troops in Ukrainian uniforms so that they can attack Belarusian troops and make it look like they're Ukrainians, make it look like Ukrainian soldiers have entered Belarus and invaded and they've killed, Belarusians, to try to get the Belarusian population to accept, mind you, the dictator himself of Belarus could be part of this, to try to get the Belarusian population to accept the war, because the Belarusian population doesn't want Belarus to enter the war. And the Belarusian military apparently doesn't want to enter the war. That very easily could be. Now, the thing is, let's see if they can really pull it off. But that's the kind of thing the Russians would do. Yes. Oh, king cake. Thank you, Dawn. That's funny. I didn't even see that they had that. That's funny. That's a big thing in France on, is it January 6th, I think January 6th. Although that's a big thing. Is that also for Mardi Gras? I'm assuming the end of the month. But in France, they'll do it on the 6th of January, I think. It's cute. They hide a little thing inside and you cut it up, and whoever gets the little thing in the cake is the king for the year, and you get to wear a crown. It's very cute. That's weird. The Belgian army general said on national TV there's a 0% chance of a nuclear Armageddon. He said the exact same as you. It's only to scare us. Good. Yeah, they're trying to scare us. Yeah. So it is for Mardi Gras as well. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, is that tonight? Okay. Somebody's saying Joe Scarborough's interviewing General Milley, Blinken, Jake Sullivan, Austin at 8:00 on MSNBC. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. In other words, like the top U.S. military leadership and White House and State Department about the war. That should be interesting tonight. Okay. Aren't we China's biggest customers? Wouldn't it be bad for them to lose our business? Yeah. I mean, the U.S. and Europe, I don't know where we are in the grand scheme, but we're big, the problem is the relationship goes both ways, right? Thank you, Joy, for that. So much of our products we import come from China. If we cut them off, American businesses lose, some businesses lose 90% of the goods they sell, right? So all of a sudden we're hurting American businesses. You're also hurting American consumers if they're cut off from cheap Chinese goods. And with inflation being bad, already there would certainly be concern about doing that, right? So string and thread, I'm not sure what that means. Are you saying that comes from China? Everything comes from China. I mean, literally, go to like the local drugstore. I went, oh my God, 10 years ago probably, to the local drugstore and was looking at Easter just for fun, Easter stuff. And there's a thread on my left shoulder. You people are cracking me up. Okay, thank you. Left shoulder. No, I think it was a thread. I don't think it was a Sasha hair. You cracked me up. But I went to the drugstore, CVS, I think it was, or Rite Aid in DC, maybe 10 years ago. And it was Easter. And just for fun, I was like, I want to see where all the Easter stuff, it was all the Easter stuff, Easter eggs and Easter baskets and Easter bunnies and all the stuff for the holiday, the cute stuff for kids and everything. Everything was made in China. I'm talking everything was made in China. There's very little in this country that isn't made in China. So, any kind of sanctions and everything, American leaders do have to think about the impact is going to be on our own economy as well. It's the same issue the Europeans have or have had with Russian oil or, natural gas, and they've been able to do a lot, obviously. But, I said this with Europe as well. Thank you, Bonnie, for that. With the Europe situation, I was saying that, they've got to be careful I am sympathetic to Europe having to be careful how it is that they wean themselves off the Russian energy. And Europe's done a very good job, which is great. So what else? Maybe a few more questions, guys, and then we'll call it quits. What else we got? I know everything's expensive domestically and people don't want to pay for it. Exactly. Oh, yeah. Noah, I don't know if I thanked you for the super sticker, Noah. If I didn't, thank you for that. I wasn't sure if I did or didn't. I think I did because I remember the name Noah stuck in my head. Well, let me look at another TikTok question or two, and then we can do a roundup, and we can be done. Will NATO step in if Russia attacks Transnistria? I doubt it. The thing is, as I said, Romania is part of NATO and the EU. Russia can't touch Romania. Moldova gets to be a problem. Well, Transnistria is in Moldova. That's a problem. I don't know. And yeah, Mexico's got its own problems. Yeah. Jose is saying Mexico is going to be the new China, but possibly in a bad way, depending what you mean. There's some really bad stuff going on with the Mexican government in terms of civil society and free elections and all of that. Really bad. David Frum did a thread on it on Twitter last night that was terrifying. I mean, really scary stuff. All right, let me look here. I feel like we're slowing down on the question. Oh, I was going to say that really quick. Yeah, so there was a wonderful protest today in the Chinese outside the Russian embassy in London today. I don't think I'm probably not going to have it handy here. Actually, I'll do a quick search. And basically, protesters painted the streets blue and white to look like the colors of the Ukrainian flag, and it was wonderful. Hang on, London, Ukraine embassy protest. Oops, maybe if I write my words correctly, it'll help. Protest. All right, video. It was really cool. I mean, it was really very pretty, very cool. I'm just trying to find one that is just YouTube. Well, maybe this will do it. I'm trying to find one. Well, CBS News. No, shoot. I'm not gonna find it here. Anyway, it's yellow. Did I say white? Yeah, yellow. I'm thinking Greek. blue and white. Make it Greek. Exactly, Deb. No. Blue and yellow, the Ukrainian color. I was talking as I was looking at my phone. Google it. It's really pretty. I mean, actually, hold on. I must have a photo here. I was looking for videos. Videos can be very difficult, but the photos are easier to find. Yeah, here we go. So this was the street in front of the Russian embassy, and it's washable paint. So the paint will come off with water very easily. I'm assuming it's a paint that's okay for the environment as well, because the activists are smart. They wouldn't just put paint on the street. But isn't that cool? Yeah. So really neat. Very cool. And just to annoy the Russians as hell. Yeah, exactly. Washable paint, so there's no permit. The Washington Post has it, folks are saying. Okay, thanks, Chris and Cheggers. Yeah, very cool. Oh, missed a question from Rachel. Hey, Rachel, sorry about that. If the war ends, if this war ends up the true undoing of Russia, and causes a split, meaning Russia, I guess, falling apart, how do you think this could affect the world economy? Okay, Russia has a lot of oil. So potentially what happens with Russia and the oil supply affects the world economy. I mean, if Russia literally falls apart at the seams, like the country dissolves, it could affect oil production, which could potentially make oil prices go up, maybe. Russia has a lot of minerals too, so I don't know whether that could cause a problem as well. The bigger issue with the world economy is, would Russia fall apart peacefully, right? Basically fall apart, meaning like all these regions break away, all these separate ethnic groups break away. Would it be peaceful? Would it be a civil war? Would it affect Russia's neighbors, right? Or would it be contained? I mean, the Soviet Union split up and it went pretty well. Right? The Russians still messed around with everybody, but it wasn't like we had massive war when the Soviet Union dissolved, right? But that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, Paul LWC is saying on TikTok, it could be a civil war. D is saying chaos. That's the concern. I mean, think of Putin. Do you think Putin is going to sit around and say, what the hell? The country's falling apart. Everyone's leaving us. Now that's the question. Domenichini's asking, if Russia falls apart, who gets the nukes? Well, that's the issue that happened the first time when Russia fell apart, and the countries basically inherited the nukes. So Ukraine had a lot of nuclear weapons. Ukraine agreed to get rid of the nuclear weapons. because Russia had promised that it would never attack Ukraine again. The US and Britain, and I think France as well, had signed a document saying, yeah, we'll help guarantee it or whatever. And of course, the Russians then attacked Ukraine anyway. After Ukraine gave up the nuclear weapons, big surprise. Ukraine should have never given them up, which is a whole other issue to keep in mind with this war is, the message being sent is don't ever give up your nukes, and B, get nukes. Because Ukraine, the only reason Ukraine's getting invaded is because Ukraine gave up its nukes. So that's the first thing. So if you get nukes, you won't be invaded. And if you've got nukes, don't give them up. That's the first lesson. I mean, unfortunately, that's the lesson. The second lesson is Russia's getting away with murder because Russia's got nukes. So if you get nukes, you too will get away with murder. You can invade your neighbors, and yeah, there'll be economic sanctions, but in the end, Europe and America will rub their hands and go, "Oh God, we don't want to make you too angry because you've got nuclear weapons, and we don't want to escalate," right? So it's a very bad. It's a very, you get a nuke, you get it, like Oprah said, you get a nuke, you get a nuke, you get a nuke. But that's one of my big concerns with this. And again, I think if Biden and others were doing a better job selling the war to the American people, we would tell them that. Like, people are smart. Explain it, but you've got to explain it to them, right? That this is a threat globally in terms of nuclear proliferation. If we let Russia get away with this, we are telling countries globally, if you've got nukes, don't get rid of them. And if you don't have nukes, get them. And if we want every country, every bad country around the world trying to get nukes, I mean, a lot of them are anyway, then, keep it up. Keep it up. But that's yet another reason we should be defending Ukraine. And again, Biden doesn't spend nearly enough time. Czech Republic with nukes. Well, in the new Jack Ryan movie, or not movie, TV series, that's an issue. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but that comes up there. All right, guys, let me do a quick wrap up, and we will call it for the night. I'll go to Discord briefly. I don't think I'm going to do a long Discord tonight because this was a long show, but I knew we had a lot of topics and I didn't want to cut anything. So it felt like it was worth going long tonight because there's a lot of stuff, obviously. I don't know. Cliff Wolf is asking really quick before we go. Since I know politics, how do you think China will present its peace plan on Friday? For example, demanding U.S. stop weapons to Ukraine and ceasefire. We don't know. Sasha is under my table in her little bed tonight. Oop, I can show you guys. Oops. Hello. I don't know if you had enough. Hopefully you guys had enough light to see Sasha under there. You guys, I can't move my laptop, but for the TikTokers, it was easier to show. But yes, so far she's not begging. So far she's just hanging under the table. Yeah, I don't know what China's doing with the peace plan. I have no idea. I mean, I really don't. I don't understand what their purpose is. Ukraine is trying to be supportive. So the Ukrainians have said, "Oh, we welcome China's interest and blah, blah, blah," because obviously everyone's trying to be nice to China because they're trying to get China not to give Russia weapons. So who knows? All right, guys, let me do the quick recap and then we'll call it quits. And like I said, I'll go to Discord for a few minutes. I'm not going to go too long since we're already late. So real quick again, oh, and Patreon. I totally forgot. I forgot to do my Patreon pitch really quick, but I do have a Patreon set up, patreon.com/Aravosis. And it's a nice way for you to be able to support my work. If you've been following me for a while and you like it, basically $5 a month, $10 a month, $25 a month, whatever. But it's a way of giving creators a donation every month automatically, which is kind of nice and very helpful to us, those of us who create. And I do this full time. Nobody's paying other than you guys. I don't get paid for this, but I do it full time. So you're the ones helping me pay my bills. So thank you for that. Patreon.com/Aravosis. You can find the link in my profile on TikTok. You guys can find the link, aravosis.com. All right. I was saying tomorrow's the 1-year anniversary of the invasion. United Nations General Assembly voted tonight overwhelmingly to adopt a resolution calling for peace in Ukraine. The Spanish Prime Minister was in Kyiv today. Thank you, Combat, for the strange little hedgehog. Combat medic. The Ukrainian Southern Command says Mariupol is no longer completely unreachable for the Ukrainian military. In other words, Ukraine now seems to have weapons that can reach farther, and we're all wondering what they are. Oops, sorry, get rid of that comment there. The Financial Times, I did a long talk on a Financial Times article about Putin and the mess he got into. If you have access to the Times, check it out. It's too long to summarize. I'll tell you one main point, though, was several top people close to the Kremlin said Putin has already gamed out the issue of nuclear weapons and has already decided that there's no advantage to using nuclear weapons in Ukraine at all. He's not going to do it, but he is going to use the threat to try to scare people. So I thought that's an important point for folks to know. Wall Street Journal is reporting that China is thinking seriously about giving Russia lethal weapons. Moldova, the Russians are claiming that Ukraine is planning on attacking Moldova to secretly give a reason for a Ukrainian invasion, something insane. I did tell you about this one. This was from news.com Australia, that the Russians are abandoning their dead in Ukraine. Oh, did I not tell you this story? I meant to tell you this one. Russians are reported. We know that Russia has not been great about collecting their dead soldiers. Now, in normal militaries, you don't leave your men behind and women behind, even if they're dead. You go back and get them. Russia does not. A lot of the Russians really don't. There have been news reports on the Ukrainians going, and literally Ukrainian civilians with like refrigerator trucks going and getting the Russian bodies and storing them so they can eventually return them to their families in Russia. I mean, which is insane. Like, these guys are committing genocide and you're worrying about returning them to their families. I mean, kudos to the Ukrainians, right? Well, the news.com Australia was reporting that the Russians are often leaving their dead soldiers in the fields to rot. And one of the reasons is because if the body isn't brought back home, then the soldier is declared as missing and not dead. And if you're missing, your family doesn't get bereavement benefits, so it saves the government money. All I got to say is, does that sound like something Russia would do? Right? I mean, sick. It's sick, but it totally sounds like something they would do. 87% of Ukrainians oppose territorial concessions for peace. Finland is going to send 3 Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. The British Defense Secretary says Challenger tanks could start arriving in spring. Australia is going to give drones to Ukraine and expand the sanctions against Russia. And Russian television last night threatened to blow up the volcano under Yellowstone Park in the western United States. But we don't care because we don't believe them. All right, guys, thank you so much. Remember, too, we've got a fundraiser going on. We are trying to raise $18,000 or 17,000 euros to buy 6 drones for the Ukrainian military. We have been specifically asked by the military. I mean, I've got a letter from them. For the Ukrainian military, wrote to a charity we're working with a formal request to raise the money to buy 6 particular. They want us to actually buy the drones for them, which happy to do. We've already raised $7,000 or 6,000 euros. We still need to hit 17,000 euros, $18,000. If you can help, I'd appreciate it. Please do help. 100% of the money will go to buying the drones for Ukraine. You can, I don't get a dime out of this. You can find it via aravosis.com, which is my link of my page of links. On TikTok, it's even easier because you guys just go to my profile, click the URL in my profile, the link, the web link, and it'll take you to the page, and you'll see the very top thing will tell you how to give. Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Kelly already donated for drones today. And thank you, Daniel O'Neill, for the gift. And there you go, guys. So thank you as always. And thank you for Sasha. And the name of the drone. Actually, I know actually, Vlad had said this. Vlad had said, I forgot this. Vlad, it's funny you said that. Vlad had said really quick that we will name the drones after the top donors, which I love that idea. So yes, we are naming the drones after the top donors. So just to be aware, and my guess is if you come up with a name that isn't obscene, we will even give it a name, or it could just be your name. So it's up to you. But I will, but Vlad told me to mention that. I totally forgot. I didn't put it in the video announcing it. I totally forgot. So that'll be an added little benefit. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I will see you all tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time, Friday. And remember, Saturday morning, we have the Coffee Talk, which is when I get together with the paid subscribers on TikTok subscription service they've got. And we'll meet at 10 a.m. Eastern time, US for that. Okay. I know I've got to write myself a note there too, to remember. Oops, dropping my pen. I dropped a pen on my dog and now she's annoyed. Name the drone. Okay, I'm going to have to do a follow-up video tomorrow. Name that drone. All right, thanks, guys. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for patrolling. I saw again that we apparently had a lot of trolls. I was ignoring them. But you guys are great. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. I'll see you all tomorrow. Oh, I'll go to Discord. I'll go to Discord for a little bit tonight. Yeah. I'll go to Discord. So it's discord.aravosis.com. I'll go. I know she ran out of the room. I'm like, this is the evil weapon that I dropped on my dog. Oh, well. All right. I'll see you guys at Discord for a little bit. Discord.aravosis.com. Thank you.